Welcome to Do You Have Mold in Your Rental? How to Know What to Do. We are here today with the team from WOW with Mike, Eduardo, Paige, and Oscar from WOW Total Cleaning and Restoration. My name is Matt Lishker with 1836 Property Management, as always in beautiful downtown Austin, Texas. WOW is here today. They're one of our licensed, experienced, knowledgeable partners. They've served with us for years in Austin. We'll ask them in a minute how long they've been doing business. We've been doing business with them for probably over a decade at this point. They do specialize in water damage, mold removal, remediation, and much, much more. So tell us a little bit about yourself and WOW today, Paige. I think we're going to start off with you. I know we've got the whole team there, but we'll let you take it to start it off.
Yeah, I'm Paige. I'm the business development representative over here at WOW, so I handle all of our sales. We're here with Oscar, who is an owner of WOW, Mike Diaz, our general manager, and Ed, who is our mold expert. And so we've been in business for about 20 years locally here in Austin. We do water, fire, mold, remediation, mitigation, and cleaning, which we'll go over a little at the end. But we are here to discuss mold and mold in your rental.
Do you guys hold any specific licenses or anything that our viewers need to be aware of?
Yes, we hold a state of Texas mold remediation contractor certifications, and we also have our mold expert Ed, and mine will present the information regarding all of mold remediation and steps, getting a protocol for mold.
Spectacular. I think it's really important to always point out because Texas is one of these states that we use a lot of different types of labor, and we have probably less regulation than anybody else in the nation. And so everybody knows a guy. But the problem is that guy may not show up when you need him, or that guy may not do things according to the law. And so we need to have people that are licensed, trusted, and reputable vendors standing by us so that when something comes back, we have handled it the correct way. So our video today is, do you have mold in your rental? How to know and what to do. Now, I'll share a little bit of story here before I get going. The question is, what is mold? And I'm going to tell you, if you ask a resident, everything in there is trying to kill them, and their child is sick, and they have a cousin who's an attorney. If you ask an investor what mold is, they say, get some bleach, just clean it. Somewhere in between is the law and the truth. And we have to figure out what to do with that to make it economical, safe, and legal for everybody. So we're talking about everything between naturally occurring versus black mold. If you have ever taken a shower, you notice that there's typically mold in the shower. You leave something out, that's what happens, right? That's called nature. Moisture is there, you get mold over time. Black mold is a little bit of a different story, and we can touch on it. What are some preventative measures that we can take so that we can reduce the probability of mold? Well, you're going to take a shower, so that's not in. But maybe we can reduce moisture in some other places. What are some best practices when mold is present? Okay, we've had a complaint, we found something, we're not even sure what it is. What can we do to make sure that this doesn't turn into a national lawsuit case here that everybody talks about, and keep it really in perspective? And then lastly, what does professional removal and restoration look like? What does that entail? What are the costs and things like that? So let's get cranking on the first one, naturally occurring versus black mold. Can you guys help explain to investors some of the similarities, some of the differences between the different types of mold, and just help them to pinpoint what may be identifiers of something that's troublesome?
I would like to start just with a small definition of what is mold. Mold is a fungus, and there's fungus everywhere. But mold is the way that the natural has to decompose everything that has a natural fiber to bring it back to the cycling of the recreate all the minerals and parts to bring it back to the site. So there's mold everywhere. We live in a mold on a world full of mold. There's mold inside of the houses and mold outside of the house. What it's important to know is when inside of the house is a higher concentration than outside, that's when you started to think that you need to remediate. There's no way to say if it's mold or not. because it could be a bacteria or it could be a different fungus. If you don't have a test, the only way that you know is having a test. So that's why it's very important. If there's any doubt that it could be a mold, you need to have a test in order to be sure. Once you have the test and it tells you, yes, there's a concentrate of this kind of mold, and it's a difference between inside and outside, and therefore needs a remediation. And I would like to add here what is specifically for Texas. The Texas regulator divide the mold job in two different companies. One company can provide the service to find and create the test and find out what specifically mold is growing. And they can, when they found that it's something that needs to be remediated, they can write a protocol. That's a company, one company. The second one, or we can clean it. But we need to have a protocol in order to clean that mold. They will tell us where is it, and what do I need to remove in order to remediate. The important is that separate the job in two different companies. It's a safe for our customer. The customer is the beneficiary, because no one can say that because I want to remove the whole wall, I need it. Someone else needs to tell me, you have to just remove this part and clean it. Therefore, that's what I'm going to do. If you found that there's something growing in your house, it's not necessarily it's a mold. Most of the times inside of the showers, what we saw that it's growing, it's a mildew. It's a growth. If we don't have the test, we cannot name it as mold. And the mold needs a natural fiber in order to grow. The houses are made with paper, cardboard, and wood. Therefore, there's enough to grow the mold. But there has to be enough humidity for the colony to expand and grow. We need to find out when we go and inspect it, if it's any moisture in the house that's showing us that there's a source for that colony to grow. And when we find it, we can ask to get a test so we can have a protocol to proceed. And if it's not, sometimes we can clean it without, if we don't find that there's a source for the mold it's growing, that it could be just a mildew. Most of the time, what we ask is to get a test for start, so we can decide if it's something that we need to remediate. Another thing that it's important here is that the state of Texas has a rule inside of the mold jobs, and this is known as the 25 square foot. It says that if it's less than 25 square foot, you don't need a licensed remediator to clean it. And this is important because we, as a licensed remediation company, the rule doesn't apply to us. So because we have the license, even if it's 1 square foot, we have to follow the rules all the time. That means that we need to find what kind of mold is growing, having the test, getting the protocol, and remediation. The difference is with us, with a licensed remediator, you will have a certificate at the end of the job saying that the property is mold-free. Someone that doesn't have the license cannot provide this certificate. And this will be a very important document when you disclose that you have a problem in your in your home or your property and you wanted to sell it, because you will have a certificate saying, yes, this house has a problem, but it was remediated the proper way, a profession.
Yeah, this is spectacular information. So my big takeaway from this from you is that just because you see something doesn't mean that we have to worry about going over the deep end. Just because there's something that exists. And if it is a very small area, because of the state law, not because of your recommendation, but we don't have to have it remediated if it's this big. With this, it's probably not going to kill anybody unless, well, maybe it came from some of our national enemies. But this is probably something naturally occurring. When you have water that enters the roof, you have a big leak, something of that nature, it's large and spread. That's a bigger problem and it's a bigger discussion. But either way, getting it tested, from what I'm taking from you, is really the way to find out what it is if all else fails. Is that fair?
Right.
That's fair.
Beautiful. Well, in the interest of staying on time here for our viewers, because I know everybody's got busy schedules, let's get into the second topic, which is preventative maintenance. So if you're a real estate investor, if you're a homeowner, hey, if you're even the renter and you just don't want a headache, what can you do to avoid the buildup of mold? Does anybody want to take that one?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Oscar, by the way. And a few things that you can do to prevent mold at the properties. If you have a water damage, make sure you mitigate properly. That's really important because leaving moisture in an area where moisture is not supposed to be, that's what can cause the problem. Also, keeping relative humidity below 50%. For mold to grow and expand, it needs relative humidity to be above 50%. By reducing the humidity, the environment won't be there for mold to move to other areas. Also, make sure that you inspect the property near wet areas, kitchens underneath the sink, bathrooms underneath the sinks, around the tubs, around the showers. Make sure that you don't see any water stains, none of that. Mold, most of the times, is produced by slow leaks. And majority of the times where we find slow leaks is underneath kitchen sinks, underneath bathroom, vanity bathroom. So those are very important things to do. Also, do maintenance on the HVAC many times, especially in our area where we have experienced sometimes over 60 days above 100 degrees temperatures. The AC work tremendously, so we need to keep maintenance on those in order to prevent clogs that can cause water damage into an attic, maybe a closet, areas that we might not see. So maintenance on that.
May I add something on that?
Of course.
On the HVAC, it's very common that there's some tapes deals around the HVAC and the plumbings. And it's super easy that those ones started to have a small leak. That means that cold air is touching the hot air on a closet or on the attic. That's exactly where the humidity started to grow. When you have two different, and as big is the difference of the temperature, how big the humidity is created. It's condensating and creating water. Therefore, the unit is creating more humidity than it was supposed to. And that humidity is moving through the whole house, through the HV, that is recycling the air all the time. So even if it's on plastic or metal, that there's no way to a mold can grow more, reproduce, there's enough humidity to create a recycle that it's bringing the possibility to the mold to start to attach to different even walls or the grills on the HVAC system on the vents. And it's super easy that you can start to see, oh, there's small dots over there. That doesn't mean that you have a water damage. It means that you have a high humidity that is creating condensation between the metal of the grill and the house, that it's not as cool as the cold air that is coming out. Sometimes it's enough to a good clean to prevent that and to check the ABC, the HVAC system, so you drop that humidity down.
I love it that the points you guys are sharing are the basics, because I think as a consumer, the first thing people get is scared when they hear mold, right? Because we've heard of lawsuits in other states and nobody wants to get caught up in that or end up in court. But the truth is, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's no water, there's no mold. The mold could be pre-existing, but it can't continue to grow. Is that correct so far?
That is correct.
Yes.
If it's dry, if it's the desert, there's no mold in the desert. And there's a reason for that. So really what these owners, residents, or anybody else is looking for is the source of the moisture to be able to then backtrack and prevent it, clean it up, figure out what's happening. The basics that you're talking about always hold true. If you have a shower and it's a cold day, you want to take a hot shower and there's a window in there, you got to use the window. Or you can expect moisture to be on the ceiling and everything else. Or you've got to use an exhaust fan. But those are there for a reason. They're not there for just aesthetic quality because you wanted a window in your shower. So I love it sticking to the basics of watching what the relative humidity is and getting to the source of these is what we're discussing. There's no hocus pocus. Nobody's trying to take advantage of everybody. This is just basic 101 environmental science, if you will. That's a stretch for me since that's not my job, but I'll call it that for a lack of a better term. So the next thing we want to discuss today is best practices. So if we have a consumer that believes they have mold or they've been told by the resident, right? They're a landlord, maybe we're not serving them. And so this tenant calls them and they thought they were going to manage this property from California. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Nothing will happen. Hey, I'm letting you know you got mold. We have a problem and they're in California. So what are best practices for the resident and best practices for the investor or the property manager for that perspective?
I will say that the first thing that a good practice is to keep the humidity low, definitely. But if you happen to have something that you see that it's growing, call us. Let us inspect and find out if it's something that it's related with a water damage, that it's humidity most coming from water inside of the house, so we can find a solution at the right moment. If it's already create a colony, let's take care properly so it will not reappear. That will be my best practice recommendation.
Yeah, I just want to add in that's kind of also like what we're here for, to do the testing. And if you don't get the test, you'll never know what actually it classifies as. And then I think our most important thing is we have to follow the protocol. And that's why we have our license and we have to follow the rules. Because once we get that protocol from the test, that gives you all your answers.
I love it. So find it, test it, get the truth. Now I want to bring one thing up. It's not on our head today, but I don't put you on the spot for any questions on this. This is just a point to consider if you're an investor. If you own real estate, you and the state of Texas are required under 95% of circumstances to fill out a seller's disclosure. When you fill that out, that is a document that states, I know this, I don't know this did or did not happen, I'm aware of X, Y, and Z. And if you fail to tell the truth on that, you are making yourself subject to a lawsuit. So if you're aware that you had someone say there's mold in the property and you said, I'm just going to ignore it, I'm going to paint over it for today. You sell that house, you go, well, it looks fine to me. And then they find out later that you had knowledge about that. You will not only be sued for the amount, you will be sued for court costs and attorney's fees. And I surely hope that we can get people to just tell the truth to protect all parties and keep the courts running instead of clogged with people who are trying to get by with things. So if you're an investor watching this, this is not about getting you to do something extra. This is about getting you to do the right thing. tell the truth, take care of business, make sure the home is safe, and protect yourself down the road. So when it's time to sell that property, you don't have to look over your shoulder and wonder if somebody's going to come back to get you. You can walk away, sleep well at night, and know that everybody is not only safe, but that no one's coming down with a lawsuit that you're unaware of. The next topic we're going to dig into before we finish up today is professional mold removal and restoration. Now, I got to tell you, as soon as we have to place a phone call to one of our owners and say, hey, we've got mold, it's confirmed, we need to have some professionals do this, they're immediately, their senses go up because they see dollar signs, right? They're scared. So help our investors, help other people in real estate feel a little bit more comfortable about the process. I'm not saying you're making it cheaper or more expensive, but I think if they have information, they'll feel more comfortable about what this whole thing looks like. Because if you haven't dealt with it before, or you're not professionals doing this every day, it is a little bit of a mystery. There's no handbook to this unless this is what you do. So would you guys mind kind of taking out and just walking them through that process?
The process will be started with containing the area. What needs to contain? To create a barrier between the affected area that you will be working and the rest of the house, in order to, and that's the most important thing, protect the person who is living in that property. The spores are so light that they will float as soon as you started to move it. It's called on a restoration language to disturb. When you disturb the colony, it started to float, and it can be attached to anything. So all the protocols, no matter who write it, always call to first contain, create a containment, and then remove anything that is inside of that it's affected, and put it in bags, fill it, and clean the bags before you take it out, so you're not cross-contaminate the rest of the house. You place inside mechanical tools to help contain any possibility that the spores can go outside. You create inside of the containment a negative air environment that it will be exhausting all the air from that area to the exterior of the house, and the person that are going to be working inside are going to be sued with a personal protective environment or equipment, personal protective equipment, that it will be a Tyvek, a suit, a mask, and gloves, in order to protect him to not be infected or exposed to the mold.
Yeah, so they don't inhale the mold. Yeah.
Once you have all these placed and you started to remove, you remove all those bags, clean it, and put it into a decontamination chamber. It's going to be a small room built attached to the containment, where the technicians are going to place everything that is going to be outside, and they're going to clean it before going out. So they're going to move it out, and when they finish, they're going to perfectly clean the inside of the containment. All the walls, all the floors and ceilings needs to have a vacuum and needs to be cleaned with a disinfectant.
And just everything that Eduardo is sharing will be documented for any future needs. In addition to that, at the end of the remediation, as Eduardo mentioned, we will issue a mold remediation certificate for the owners of the property, so that they can use for any future needs. As you, Matt, mentioned, if they're selling the property, it's going to be key to have that certificate of mold remediation.
And that certificate certifies that no one went and slapped paint over it, no one went and just scrubbed, bleached, and called it a day, that the property is mold free. It certified that a license from the state of Texas has contained, remediated, and followed the protocol in order to deem the home safe for future.
I love this. And this is why investors should consider hiring a professional instead of some guy who drove up while they were at the property to get this done. I might challenge anybody that is not using common sense. If you've got one team in a hazmat suit using professional equipment trying to capture invisible spores and another guy who's got a can of bleach and a rag, there's a reason there's a difference between the two. There's a reason someone is licensed to do this, and you will need that certificate to prove that you handle this properly down the road. So I thoroughly appreciate you guys going through all this, sharing the steps to it, telling us what to look for, and really sticking to the truth and the basics on this whole thing of what causes it, what you need to do with it. Before we're out of here today, because we are closing out our time, we want to be respectful of everybody that set aside time to be with us today. Tell us a little bit about what else you guys do, about your team, about any other services that you offer, and then we'll make sure that your information is shared with everybody.
Yeah, Matt, that's me. I'm Mike. I'm the general manager here at WOW. We do a little bit of everything. We do cleaning. We respond to fires, storms, waters, flood event, pipes bursting. That happens about once a year in Austin, it seems like nowadays. We also do, as you all know, we also do the restoration mitigation services that we've been talking about to include mold. We do pack outs. We'll take a job from the beginning to the end. We're a turnkey operation, which there aren't a lot of restoration companies in Austin that do that. So we're one of the few. We also do all the repairs and the construction on the back end. Just a quick story. We responded to the tornadoes out in Temple earlier this year. And when we responded, those houses were in terrible shape, as you can imagine. We now have pictures of these houses being fully restored, and they're amazing. So we'll post some of those on our website, and I welcome everybody to go onto the website and take a look. They're really, really, really cool results. And so, again, we're just a turnkey company. Call us for anything that you may need.
We are NADCA certificate, that the National Association of Air Ducts. So we can also provide air duct decontamination.
NADCA. Yeah.
Spectacular. To all the viewers, my recommendation, whether it's my company, whether it's one of the vendors we collaborate with, is we prefer meetings, Google Meet or whatever your favorite software app is, Zoom or whatever, so we can actually see someone's face, get to know them, build a relationship. But as a worst case, with anybody that 1836 works with, call them, pick up the phone, talk to them like a human. We don't do business in Austin like some other places where you're trying to beat somebody up and see who's not abusing you and playing these games. Most of us grew up here. We've been here for decades. We're not going anywhere. And we have to have a good reputation. We have to work with people we trust, work with people that can communicate, and then we don't have to go back and look over our shoulder with. So if you have questions, if you have a problem, if you don't have a problem, if you did have a problem, if you want to have a conversation with somebody about these topics, the contact information is there for WOW. Reach out to them. Pictures, are worth 1,000 words. So after they get those posted on their website, I think it would be fascinating to see those before and after, which proves the work they do. So please reach out to them, whether it's through their website, whether it's through an email or the phone number that we've got posted. Just have a conversation with them. They're there for you. When the pipe bursts, you're going to be struggling and you're going to need somebody. So mark the number down before winter comes and surprises you, or you're going to wish you had. We certainly call on them when we need somebody for cleaning and restoration because we know we can talk to them, have a conversation, we can effectively collaborate. We've even had, I hadn't brought this up in years, but we had an issue years ago between our companies, and it was related to someone else that caused the problem. And we worked together for 6-9 months to make it right between us. And that's so far behind us, we don't even look back anymore because we know we have a collaborative relationship that's healthy and we trust each other. So I want to say thank you to you guys. You brought the entire team out today to see us. I can't say thank you enough for having all that mental mind power at the table today. I'm going to share my information as well, just so if anybody wants to reach out to us at 1836, if you've got a question, a complaint, or anything else, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for decades to come. So please reach out to us, reach out to our team. Paige, Mike, Oscar, Eduardo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your friendship and collaboration. And thank you for being just a great, honest business that has integrity and makes Austin a better place to live.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
We'll see you guys soon. Catch us online. See you at the next round.
Bye.
Thanks for your time, guys.